What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another Commander Deck Tech video. This is a deck by Skokas here on moxfield.com. Thank you for your patronage. This is a deck built around the new Lorcan Warlock Collector, so if you want to check out this deck list, I will have it linked in the description below. Lorcan is kind of like Turgid, but I think a little bit more fair. You do have to get to that 7 mana, and once you do, it does feel like you should get that kind of benefit where you're stealing a ton of your opponent's creatures. But this only steals creatures too, so that's another reason why it's more fair than Turgid. So a 7 mana mono black legendary devil creature, a 6/6 flyer. Whenever a creature card is put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, you may pay life equal to its mana value. If you do, put it onto the battlefield under your control. It's a warlock in addition to its other types. If a warlock you control would die, exile it instead. So if that were not the case, that would combo because you would just send it back to their graveyard. That would trigger it again. That's why they have to be exiled. But the fact that it means they can be put into a graveyard from anywhere, you can fool around with some mill. You can fool around with discard, anything like that, to get those cards into the graveyard, which is something that Turgid did not do, which I think makes it stand apart as a commander option. Talking about our planeswalkers here, we have Tevesh Zat, so giving you sacrifice fodder. We do have some Grave Pact abilities in here, so making those 2/0/1 Thrall creatures, that's actually important, because it means we're going to have to sacrifice something of our own that isn't our commander. Liliana Dreadhorde General, same idea here. You have a good ability on the +1, getting you a zombie, and her -4 is really what we're going to take advantage of here because each player sacrificing 2 creatures means that we can take them with our Lorcan. Whenever a creature we control dies, we also get to draw a card, so that's just brilliant all around. And our creatures we're going to focus on sacrificing here with Viscera Seer. That's why we also have sacrifice fodder creatures like Bloodghast, Nether Trader, and Reassembling Skeleton. We also have Ophiomancer, so you can keep sacrificing that token. We're going to do this because it means that we're also going to trigger things like Grave Pact and Grave Pact-like abilities that are also going to force our opponents to sacrifice. And we're going to take advantage of all these death triggers with cards like Blood Artist, Zulaport Cutthroat. We're going to benefit off of creatures entering over and over again with our Ayara, so that we get some life gain out of this. Since we do have to pay life to steal those creatures, we might end up in the danger zone if we don't have a way to gain life. We have Plaguecrafter to act as our first Grave Pact-like ability. It enters, each player sacrifices a creature or planeswalker. If they can't, they discard a card. And we have Cryptghast here to double the mana, also an extort ability that you can take advantage of. Get yourself some life gain back. Really good that we have a mana doubler in here, and you're going to see that with the deck. We have decent mana production to get our Lorcan out there once, twice, 3 times if we have to. You want to be able to get your commander out there in a game at least 3 times. If you're not reliably able to do that, you may have to evaluate the weaknesses of your deck when it comes to mana production. We have Disciple of Bolas, so you can sacrifice a creature, draw some cards, gain some life. Brilliant card for this strategy. Pitiless Plunderer, so we get some treasure tokens whenever another creature we control dies. We have Rankle, Master of Pranks. When he attacks, we want to have it so that each player sacrifices a creature. That's the strength of this card in any kind of sacrifice strategy. Sangromancer, so we get to gain some life back. Another card that's essential. If you're paying a ton of life to steal creatures, you want to also gain a ton of life when those creatures die, when they have to discard cards too. And Yawgmoth Thran Physician, just another great sack outlet that also allows you to draw cards. Archfiend of Depravity makes it so that an opponent can't control more than 2 creatures, because if they do, at the beginning of their end step they have to sacrifice down to 2 creatures. Then we have Grey Merchant of Asphodel because we're paying a lot of life to steal creatures, and we're also in mono black, so we take advantage of that devotion to mono black by gaining life equal to the total amount of life we're forcing our opponents to lose. And Sir Conrad, because this is an aristocrat deck, kind of. I mean, it's mostly about taking advantage of stealing creatures, but if we get the benefit of draining our opponent's life, then we'll take it. Kokosho the Evening Star, another great creature to kill off and gain a ton of life back. And Arcana Revenant, another mana doubler for black, because whenever we tap a swamp for mana, we get an additional black mana. Very important to get out a pretty expensive commander option. And Noxious Gearhulk, we kill a creature, and we gain life equal to that creature's toughness. So double purposed here, we gain some life back if we have to pay some life to steal the creature we're destroying. We have Kirik, Son of Yawgmoth, which does act as a bit of cost reduction, but whenever we play a black spell, we get to put a +1/+1 counter on him, and he does have lifelink. And Sheoldred, an all-star in any kind of sacrifice-focused deck. We're forcing each opponent to sacrifice a creature at the beginning of their upkeep, so that we can steal them. And we have Vilis, Broker of Blood, because we have an ability here that will let us lose life, and then in combination with Vilis we get to draw that many cards. And our sorceries, we have mostly good quality mono black staples here. Feed the Swarm to get rid of creatures or enchantments, Night's Whisper and Sign in Blood to draw 2 and lose 2 life. Torment of Hailfire is kind of the Hail Mary of the deck. Dump a ton of mana into X and see if your opponents survive. Dark Deal is decent card draw. I'm surprised that more mono black decks don't play it. Each player discards all the cards in their hand and then draws that many cards -1. And then we have Read the Bones, kind of the same as Night's Whisper and Sign in Blood, but you get to scry 2 first. And we have Toxic Deluge to get rid of indestructibles, Damnation to deal with creatures that can regenerate, and Mutilate to just be beneficial for a mono black deck. Instance, we have Dark Ritual to get our commander out there even quicker. Malakir Rebirth, we get to have it come back to our hand so we don't have to pay the commander tax. That's really nice. Cabal Ritual for more mana, has Threshold, so we get 5 black if we have 7 or more cards in our graveyard. Soul Shatter, forcing each opponent to sacrifice a creature along with Vona's Hunger. So we're going to be able to steal creatures pretty easily if we can force them to sacrifice. We have Stinging Study, brilliant card. We draw X cards and lose X life, where X is the mana value of a commander we own on the battlefield or in the command zone. So that's a whopping 7. You're going to pay 7 life for 7 cards. And then Altar of the Brood, because our commander triggers whenever a creature is put into the graveyard, we get to mill them and steal those creatures. Altar of the Brood is a very efficient way of doing that. Whenever another permanent enters the battlefield under our control, each opponent will mill the top card of their library. We have Skull Clamp to take advantage of creatures dying by drawing 2 cards whenever the equipped one does. We have Soul Ring for mana, Altar of Dementia, so if we feel like doing it, we can sacrifice our Warlocks to mill our opponents. If they get more creatures, we can keep doing this. It's really just about making sure you have enough life to do this and continue doing it. It's a nice little combination. I don't think it goes infinite, but it's a nice little combination that you can pull off there if you just want to mill out an opponent. I don't think it's something you can do for each one unless you have a significant way of continuously gaining life. And we have Arcane Signet Felwar Stone for mana, Mind Stone for mana, Thought Vessel for mana, and Jet Medallion for cost reduction. We have Mesmeric Orb for even more mill. This is going to be a mill-heavy deck. Really, the strength is taking advantage of cards that are ending up in their graveyard in various ways, not just by dying on the field. And then Mind Crank, whenever an opponent loses life, that player puts that many cards from the top of their library into their graveyard. So another great way that we can funnel cards into their graveyard. And then we have Ashnod's Altar to keep our turns going if we can just sacrifice those Warlocks. Find a way to get even more of them. We have Phyrexian Altar to get colored mana. And then we have Sword of Body and Mind. This is a really good one because if we deal combat damage with our creature, we get to mill 10 cards from that player's library, which does give us the potential of landing a good creature. And then we have Whip of Erebos because we can give our creatures lifelink and then gain some of the life that we're losing back. We have Bitter Blossom and Dreadhorde Invasion for sack fodder. We have Necropotence to get some quick card advantage. We have Phyrexian Arena for more card draw. We have Grave Pact and Dictate of Erebos because whenever a creature we control dies, each opponent is going to sacrifice a creature. And we have Black Market so that we get some black mana. Just store those counters on this Black Market whenever a creature dies, so that at the beginning of our pre-combat main phase, we get a ton of it. And the lands are going to be pretty competitive too. For mono black, we have Ancient Tomb, Bajuka Bog to deal with graveyards, Cabal Coffers and Cabal Stronghold to get more black mana, and Nykthos Shrine to Nyx to take advantage of Devotion in the same way, High Market to sacrifice and gain a life, Myriad Landscape to get more swamps, Phyrexian Tower to get more black mana by sacrificing a creature, Strip Mine to deal with lands, Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth to combo with Cabal Coffers, and War Room to draw cards. So anyway, let me know what you think about Lorcan Warlock Collector. It just seems like mono black gets a ton of support for Commander. It always just gets the most brutal Commander options that focus on Aristocrats, focus on Forced Sacrifice with Grave Pact effects, and this is a really, really cool one that I am probably going to build myself. So this deck is by, again, Skokas on moxfield.com. Go check them out. The link will be in the description below. See you all next time.